Welcome to Angels and Demons podcast. My name is Vincent Morgan, and this is Season 2, Episode 5, called Medal of Freedom. This is in honor of Charlie Kirk. If I'm a little off today, I have a son that can be born any moment. My fiance is due with our baby boy, who in the next day or two could be born. Very special time in our life, and I really appreciate everyone watching this show so far. The main purpose of this show is to give reference and attention to mental health. And from that, we have branched out to giving honor to Charlie Kirk, because a dear friend of mine, Mr. Bill Scroggins' friend, was taken from this place, and it really created an atmosphere of where we saw things very different. And from that point, we really wanted to make sure that the movement and the things that he believed in and supported, we created an atmosphere where we added to what he supported. 3 reasons that I personally believe that Medal of Freedom was given to Charlie Kirk was mobilizing young conservatives and influencing political engagement. And something that really stood out to me is Charlie Kirk put himself in the most vulnerable situations. He would go to sometimes the most liberal schools and put himself with a big target on his back. He would sometimes take the most controversial topics and discuss them, and whether they were agreed upon or disagreed, he would debate in a way where it wasn't necessary to take his life. One of the amendments is just freedom of speech. And so it's really something that has created such a stir in this country because, Deuteronomy 5:17 says, "You shall not kill." And Charlie Kirk was killed. And Erica, his wife, now has taken over Turning Point and consolidating it down into a focus of how we can take universities, and instead of influencing young people so that they are indoctrinated with this belief, with this liberal belief system that there is no God, that there is no identity that's needed, you can do anything you want at any time, Charlie went to these universities and debated with biblical stances to make sure that these kids understood the consequences of their actions, that their beginning 4 years or 5 years were some of the most important years they would ever remember. And so thanks to Mr. Bill Scroggins and Mrs. Scroggins that are supporting this show so that we can help others achieve mental health. And that is, again, what Angels and Demons podcast is all about mental health. What that means for one person can differentiate from another, but there are many things along the way that we have said and done to emphasize the importance of good mental health, whether that be exercise, whether that be reading the right literature, whether that be being around the right people. It's so important because you do not want to turn the news on and see school shootings or people taking their lives due to suicide or mental depression or finding ways in life that you just cannot deal with because it's just so overwhelming. It's something that is so vitally important to us that we wanted to just do a recap and just kind of slow things down a little bit and get to a point to where we say, okay, here we are at this far in the show, and what is our vision and what is our mission? There has been 13 guests so far that have come on and personally shared their stories. Very private, very individual, difficult stories of either catastrophes they went through, very difficult moments in life, heart attacks, plane crashes, ways in which afterwards they've had to deal with their mental health. And through those sharing of those stories, we hope that in a way, if there's any one of those things that you are dealing with, you can listen to that episode and it can help you. So we encourage you, if there is any way in which we can be of help, please let us know. If you would like to come on the podcast and share your story of what your struggle is in mental health, we would love to have you come on and share your story. The main purpose of this is, again, to recognize that Charlie Kirk received the Medal of Freedom. And what does that mean? The Medal of Freedom is the highest civilian honor that a president can give an individual. So many, Mother Teresa, Michael Jordan, Helen Keller, Rosa Parks, so many influential historical figures have received this award for things they have done that are very extraordinary. But none of them are martyrs. None of them have been killed because of this stance in which they took. Charlie Kirk had such courage and such immense amount of determination to turn America around, Turning Point USA, to turn America around, so that instead of the universities brainwashing students into a liberal ideology, he wanted to bring back the focus to what is most important, and that is you have to have an identity in something, and that is the Bible. Unless you have an identity in the Bible, you cannot help someone or your own self be mentally healthy, because you have to have the correct anchor, the correct support system, the correct words and books, and that is Jesus. I mean, that is the prime example of what you need in your life to have everything else go well. Without that, you end up breaking various things, like taking Charlie Kirk's life, an evilness that encountered to take him out because he was making such a difference in America. He was going from university, some say that there were 6 stops a day he would go to let students debate whether it's abortion, whether it's feminism, whether it's gay. People will say he was against gays. He was not against gays. They took out of context what he was trying to make his point be. And so what's very important about this podcast is that we give Charlie Kirk the honor that he deserves. And that is that he is braver than any man that I know to have 2 children, 2 young children, and a wife, and go to universities that had he might as well just painted a big bullseye on his chest, because he went in with very little bodyguards, very little security, just to debate points in which he wanted to make sure that kids knew that were in college that there is very, very important facts like free markets, individual initiatives, Christian or moral foundations, minimal or limited government. What do those things mean? And he wanted to bring those things to the forefront of conversation so that kids could start thinking for themselves, which really is what college is about, being able to think for yourself. The second reason I believe Charlie Kirk deserved the Medal of Freedom is championing free speech debate and ideological advocacy. He encouraged people to develop what our rights are, which is freedom of speech. If you disagree with someone, it's okay. Talk to them. Ask them, why do you believe this? Or what do you not believe in this? And have a civil, polite conversation with them. There's no reason to pull out a gun and kill someone because you disagree with what they think. It still is so shocking to know that such an influential man started this in 2012, 2016. Mr. Bill Scroggins met him in the infancy of what he was doing as a young man, and at such a young age be taken out. The left saw him as one of the biggest threats to America, and that's why I personally believe he's a martyr, is because he literally was changing the ballot. He was changing the votes, and where kids were realizing they were thinking clearly about what they really were being taught and what really was right and wrong. And so to give some examples about that, I wrote some things down. There's no way I can memorize all this. So the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights is freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly. And so they violated that in so many ways because he did not have the freedom of speech because he was murdered. He went to have freedom of speech and someone took a bullet and killed him. I don't believe that was a single person with mental health issues. I think that there was a collaborated movement on the left to use someone to take such an influential figure out. Because why was Donald Trump months before hit part of his ear shot with a bullet? I mean, it just shows this strategy and mechanisms of the left to take out influential people. It's just not acceptable. And so one of the things that I think is absolutely amazing is Charlie's social media platform reached over 100 million people per month. He was listed among the top 10 most engaged accounts in the world. He hosted the Charlie Kirk podcast show, which really changed lives on a daily basis. It made people realize, what is my identity? What is my purpose in this world? Why am I here? What is the whole point of all this? And so what he did is ask questions that made people ask themselves questions inside themselves to give answers to. And I personally have to say he made an influence on me. There were moments for myself that I did not realize that I did not have a clear, clean identity. And so that identity is, what is your identity as an individual? What anchors you? What holds you fast in this world? Is it the Bible? Is it just how you feel, being a nice person? Just what keeps you grounded so you treat people right, you do what's right, and you actually abide by the things that, like Pastor Joby would share on a Sunday at 11:22. To be a man. What does to be a man mean? And a man of God, what does that mean? And so all these questions that Charlie was asking are questions that we need to go back and find answers for. I could sit here for hours and hours and hours and go through all of them, but I think the best thing is for us each to do our own homework. Go look at what questions he was asking and look of what and why he wanted answers to that. He wanted to protect America. So the symbol of free speech, Kirk was assassinated while speaking at a campus event. Many see that as giving him a symbolic status as someone who died in the service of open discourse or speaking the truth. Despite opposition, the award came. Often the Medal of Freedom is given to people whose influence or sacrifice is considered to go beyond what can be appreciated in their lifetimes, including as symbols. For President Donald Trump to recognize Charlie Kirk, to receive this award among many of the other people, like I listed Mother Teresa for an example, and many other, Oprah, that have made significant impact on America, is incredible. I think it is so important as we go on through this podcast and we have different guests come on and share their stories of mental health, what they've been through in life and what it's taken them to overcome their challenges. We keep this at the forefront of our mind. That there was a man that was so brave to go out every day, his wife knowing that every day where he was going, he could have been killed at any moment. He was going in the most vulnerable situations, exposing liberals in the ideology that there is just free sex. You can do anything you want. You can be transgender. There's no consequences. The Bible's an old book. It has no relevance of how we live our life today. It's false. It's wrong. The Bible is the anchor. That is the meat and potatoes of how we live our life. Charlie realized as he went around to these universities that was where his identity and purpose came from, was the Bible. And so I just encourage our listeners to really, as you grab a hold of these stories, and whether it be someone that committed suicide, whether it's someone that survived a car accident, whether it's someone who survived a plane crash, that mental health is so important. If you don't feel mentally healthy, if you don't feel mentally well, reach out to us. We have the resources to get you in a place to speak to someone, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a hospital that specializes for rehabs, like a church, something that can get you plugged in to help you so that you are mentally healthy. So for one, you're not just breaking the 10 Commandments, and you're not violating and taking people's life. I mean, I just cannot express that enough. I mean, this podcast is built and branded around mental health. You are not alone. And so we wanted to do, just like I said, a recap of what this podcast is about, where we are so far, and where we're going. Last episode, Brother Rick came on with Mr. Bill Scroggins. And Brother Rick described his life at Shepherd's Field Community Church, which was a cult that came from Central Missouri. This cult didn't allow you to leave, didn't allow you to breathe, barely allowed you weren't allowed to see your family, you were trapped. You were, when you were there, you were never allowed to leave. And at 18 years old, because I didn't believe in what they believed, they shipped me out, blindfolded and shipped me out to Alaska, to another cult that tried to indoctrinate me and not let me leave an island. And so recovering from that myself is a huge part of my identity and who I am. And what I can offer my fiance and my future wife is the man that I am only as good as what I am attempting to be on a daily basis. That defines me. The better person I intend to be each and every day is the person that God intends me to be. So what a blessing it is to have people like Mark Kelly Advantage, who have put together so much of the media part of this. Like I said, Mr. Bill Scroggins and Mrs. Scroggins, who have supported the initiative and what it means to be mentally healthy and the importance of having mental health. Lacendo and the film crew here to take the time out of their day to come and just record people that are sharing their circumstances in life that are very difficult, that are very hard, to give of their time to come here and film people that are going through very difficult times in their life. So the next guest that's going to be coming on this podcast is a very special guest. Her name is Renee Lowe. She is the daughter of Rick Lowe, who came from Shepherd's Field Community, a cult. And that cult manifested not only so many suicides, but so much mental health. It started out as an innocent church, from San Diego University, San Diego, and all these churches coming together, and they moved to Shepherd's Field, Midwest, and started this community. But out of it came so much unhealthy mental health that it motivated me to start a podcast that was specifically on mental health, to help other people know, listen, you are not alone in the struggle it is to just get through day-to-day life. Life is hard. Life is difficult. And so today's podcast is short and sweet. It's just to keep things so that I have a son coming in a couple weeks. We don't know exactly what the timing of the next guest is going to be to come on this podcast, but we don't want you to feel like just dropped off the planet, that you're just kind of left alone. We're right by your side through any struggle, challenge you're going through. Let us know. We want to be a help, just like Charlie was to the world. He sacrificed his time. He sacrificed his family time to go out and make sure that everybody knew the truth so that this country could be whole, be free. And so I just encourage everyone to read carefully. When it comes to whether people come out and say Charlie Kirk was against gays, he was not against gays. Or Charlie Kirk was against women's rights. He was not against women's rights. He was a beautiful father. He was a beautiful man of God, and he was a great example of what a man should be in this country. He's no longer here now. And so people like me can at least stand up, take a few moments of our day, and acknowledge him. And especially give credit to the people that enable me as a host on Angels and Demons podcast to give the credit that he deserves. I really, really want this podcast to be something different. 99% of podcasts fail. And it's not about getting 100,000 subscribers. It's not about getting all the likes on YouTube or becoming famous. It's about making a platform that makes a difference in this world. And I really want to follow Charlie Kirk's example, and where I do and help people, be a servant for other people. so that my life is not lived for myself. It's lived to be the best future husband I can be for my fiance, to be the best father I can be for my kids, to be the best example I can be for the community that I live in Jacksonville and Atlantic Beach. If we each can help each other be the best version of ourselves and understand the importance of having a strong identity and knowing that that identity has to come from somewhere. And me personally, I'm saying that identity has to come from the Word of God. And coming from a cult, from a community where you want to shun the Bible, you don't want anything to do with it, and for years I pushed it aside, I've come back to realize it's the truth. It's the only thing that can set us free. Just a week is hard. I mean, I was just thinking this week, all the difficulties, all the challenges through work, through life, through relationships, through every little aspect that you go through in the week. It's very difficult. It's fucking hard. I mean, it's not easy. And so how can we be brothers and sisters in Christ and help one another? If someone's like, hey, I'm having a bad day, and I just brush it off, but maybe be like, what can I do to help you? You know, I do have a family, but what can I do to help you? Does that mean helping an older lady or an older gentleman get groceries out of their car? Maybe it's that. Maybe it's just taking 5 minutes out of your time, sitting on the couch and just saying, what are you going through? What is your difficulty? What is causing you to have a struggle in life? And listen and be there for them. You know, it's as simple as the little things in life that sometimes are the biggest things. And mental health is just about being sound and healthy in your head. And sometimes I found my greatest attribute of mental health is just writing down a few things I'm thankful for. Just 3 things that I'm thankful for. And that helps me get into a mindset of being mentally healthy and just saying, God, I appreciate what you've given me. You've given me shelter. You've given me food. You've given me water. You've given me a beautiful son that's coming. You've given me a beautiful future wife. You've given me so many blessings. And you start with that. And then exercise. Like you can see, we're huge into sports. Sports is something that I strongly believe is a builder of mental health. So much of what it takes to be a professional athlete stimulates the mind to be productive. It makes you release endorphins. It makes you feel better about yourself. It helps you realize what it is to be a team. And a lot of life is just being a team. Whether you're a part of a church, it's to be a team. How can you be the best teammate in your church? How can you serve your community the best? And so as we go through these next episodes in season 2, we have some very special surprises for you guys, very special guests. One of them is Antonio Brown. And many say, you know, this guy is crazy. This guy has lost his rocker. This guy is nuts. You know, I say Antonio Brown is coming on the show. He was a wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. One of the best wide receivers of all time for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And many people say he's crazy. He's gone nuts. But little do people know that one of the reasons he went nuts is he was one catch from making, you know, a great sum of money. And so he's very frustrated over that. When do we not have frustrations during our day or aggravations during our day where we just kind of lose our cool? All the time. I think we could probably give examples individually of when we just lose our patience or lose our cool with people. Whether they're talking too long, whether they're just not talking in the way we want them to be, standing in a line to check out groceries, patience. And so a lot of the fruits of the Spirit of what the Bible says, I try to see, do I have self-control? Do I have humility? Do I have love? No greater gift does a man have than he lay down his life for his friends. So what are we doing that makes us mentally healthy? And so through that, may we look towards the things that help us be mentally healthy, the resources that we give so that we can talk about the medal of freedom. Is like, I'm wearing I went to a Chicago Bulls game. Charlie Kirk's from the Chicago suburbs. And he was a Bears fan. He was a big fan of just sports in general because he knew what it took to be a great athlete. It takes a tremendous amount of discipline. like Kobe Bryant. He was not the most talented athlete, but he was the most skilled, meaning he could outskill you. He would study you so that he could outperform you on the basketball court. And so do that. Try to, with mental health, outdo your opponent, outdo them. Each day, wake up and prepare. Make yourself mentally healthy so you make the right choices that make sure that you are mentally strong for that day. A Bible by your bedside, or I just have an app that, on my phone, just a verse of the day, something that, or 3 verses of the day, or 3 things you are grateful for, something that puts you in that mindset so that we can talk about honorable men who are making a huge difference in this world. One of them in Jacksonville and Atlantic Beach, for an example, is Joby Martin. He runs a church called 1122. The resources that he has created for mental health is insane. I mean, you can, if you have kids on Wednesday night, you can go over there and your 11 or 12-year-old and younger can go and interact with other kids. They can be taught the importance of what life is really about. That is not free. That doesn't just happen. That's a man that devoted his life to God and his resources to give back to the community as a servant. And so I think he's setting a prime example for other men to rise up, be men of God, so that we can all be mentally healthy. So again, I just thank you for subscribing. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this podcast. I know that sometimes some of the episodes seem long. Some of them seem maybe boring. Maybe they're not exciting. Like, my heart goes out to like Theo Vaughn. He had a podcast episode that was in New York. And he kind of like got scared in the way where he just didn't feel himself. And so he's like, I eat shit for breakfast. Like, kind of like he didn't perform the way that he really wanted to on stage for this Netflix podcast. And, he felt like embarrassed and felt ashamed. And you know what? We're all normal. We're all people. Like even today, maybe I'm not talking the right way. Maybe I'm not saying everything perfectly. Maybe I'm missing certain words. Maybe I'm leaving things out. Maybe I have too many papers here. Maybe I didn't use the teleprompter correctly. But the main purpose is, are we each waking up every day and trying our best to encourage one another to try to reach for higher ground? If we do that as brothers and sisters in Christ, we're doing the best we can. But I'm just saying, coming from a cult, from someone that disowned God, I'm just letting our subscribers know without Jesus, living life in this modern world is near impossible. Meaning it is so difficult that you can't do it. It's just, you will end up being insane like this man that went out and took a gun and killed Charlie Kirk. You don't want to become insane like that, where you lose your sanity. And we're all so subject to that ability to become not ourselves. And so 1122, just bless them for in this community making such a difference. Again, Mr. Bill Scroggins giving of their time to make sure that this podcast is out there for the public to share stories, intimate stories of hardships and difficulties they've been through. Because a lot of the problems and difficulties we go through are very similar. We have more things that we go through that are difficult than we don't. So many things that are difficult are the same things. And so if we can come on and be open to share those, it's so helpful for people that maybe can't get off the couch, people that don't have arms and legs, that can't, like there was a quadriplegic that wanted to come on the show that just couldn't. So if we can just be compassionate and loving, it makes a huge difference. And so I just ask all our subscribers, if you enjoy hearing stories, real stories of people that go through life, that go through very difficult moments in life, donating to Angels and Demons podcast, subscribing, liking this channel helps us make sure that the community is healthy in a mental way. So I just ask that you would just help us reach out to more people in this community and in this world so that we can promote and actually achieve mental health. Mental health is so important. It's been taboo for so long. It's something that people feel embarrassed about. I feel like they have to scoot it under the rug so that they feel normal, that they feel okay. I'm guilty of that myself. There could be issues or problems I have where I just want to come off cool, want to come off okay, when I really have the same problems that you do. Depression, not feeling good about myself, self-esteem, all those kind of things that beat us down or make us not feel like we are mentally healthy that day. And so without taking any more time, I just want to say one last thing, and that is, if you feel so led to donate towards Angels and Demons podcast and to help encourage people to come on this podcast to share their stories so that it can help and influence others and real people in this world, it would be greatly appreciated. Because I think the greatest difference that we can make in this world is by making mental health not taboo. Letting real people sit to the other side of me here. They can share their stories in a way in which you can relate to, and it can possibly make a huge difference in your life. So again, thank you for tuning in to Angels and Demons podcast. Thank you for your time, for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting this. It takes a group, a village to make this possible. And so with that being said, in a couple of weeks, we have a very special guest, like I said, Renee Lowe, coming on to share her experience of what it is like to live in the, quote, real world outside of a Christian cult that mentally really affected her life and took years for her to, quote, bounce back. It is an episode that I think that will really make a huge impact on your life when you see what incredible courage it has taken for her to take that experience and turn it into a blessing and a gift that God has encouraged her to take each day and look at it as a fresh opportunity to be the best person she can be. Thank you for listening to Angels and Demons podcast. Thank you.